We all have a daily routine, but have you ever really stopped to think about the incredible power that's just hiding within it? Today, we're going to dig into how a few small, deliberate choices can totally change our bodies, our brains, and even how creative we are.
So let me ask you this, straight up. Is your day a carefully designed masterpiece that actually works for you? Or is it maybe more of a random collection of habits and just reacting to things? The answer to that question? It might just be the key to unlocking a better you. Let's find out why.
All right, section one. Most of us, let's be honest, we move through the day on total autopilot. You know the drill: wake up, commute, work, eat, sleep, and then do it all over again. But what if we actually grabbed the controls? We're about to see how even the tiniest, most intentional shifts in that pattern can have a massive, massive impact.
See, it's not just about what you're doing. It's really about when you're doing it and how you're doing it. This idea of being intentional, that's the thread that connects everything we're about to explore. When we're deliberate, we turn simple everyday actions into incredibly powerful tools.
Okay, first up, let's talk about our physical bodies. We usually think that as long as we get our exercise in at some point, it doesn't really matter when, right? Well, a fascinating study on patients with type 2 diabetes suggests that timing, it might just be everything.
Now, to really get this study, we need to understand something called oxidative stress. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like rust, but inside your body. It's this imbalance that damages your cells, and it can lead to some really serious health issues, especially for people with diabetes. So here's what the researchers did. They took a group of patients and split them in two. Both groups did the exact same moderate intensity exercise for 10 weeks. The only difference, the only one, was that one group worked out in the morning between 7 and 8 a.m., and the other worked out in the afternoon between 4 and 5 p.m. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. The researchers measured something called GPX1. That's a super powerful antioxidant enzyme that fights off that cellular rust. And the results? They were just dramatic. Look at this. The morning exercise group saw their protective antioxidant levels shoot up by nearly double that of the afternoon group, and they were doing the exact same workout. Then they measured something called MDA, which is a direct marker of that cell damage. It's the rust itself. And again, wow, the results were so clear. The morning group saw a much, much bigger reduction in this harmful stuff. They were literally cleaning out more of that cellular rust just by changing the time of day they exercised. So the huge takeaway here is this. It's not just that you do the thing. Shifting the very same activity to the morning created a dramatically better health outcome. This isn't about working harder. It's about working smarter with your body's own natural clock.
Okay, so we've seen how timing can tune up the body. But what about our brain, our mood? Well, next up, we're going to see how a short, sharp shock to the system can completely reboot our emotional state. And this brings us to the surprising power of a cold bath.
So get this, researchers had people who were not used to cold water sit in a chilly bath for just 5 minutes. Right after they asked them how they felt, the results were pretty incredible. People felt more active, more alert, more inspired, even more proud, and at the same time, way less nervous and distressed. That's a huge mood boost from just 5 minutes of being a little uncomfortable.
I mean, feeling better is one thing, but what is actually going on up there? What's the neuroscience? What changes in our brain to make us feel so different so quickly?
While using brain scans, scientists found something amazing. After that cold bath, key brain networks, the ones in charge of things like our attention, our emotions, our self-control, they all started talking to each other more effectively. The best way to picture it is like a scattered orchestra that suddenly finds its conductor and starts playing in perfect, beautiful harmony. So the big idea here is that a brief, intentional jolt, like a cold bath or even just a cold shower, can act like a reset button for your brain. It forces all these different parts to sync up, and that leads to that amazing feeling of alertness, focus, and just positivity.
All right, so we've seen how being intentional can optimize our body and reboot our brain. But what about something a little less predictable, like creativity? Let's take a look at the routines of two legendary writers to see how they used routine to make their art happen.
The world of art really proves that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. What works like a charm for one person might be a total disaster for someone else. The real secret isn't in finding the perfect schedule, but in the deliberate act of building a schedule that works just for you.
So on one end of the spectrum, you've got someone like Sylvia Plath. Her routine, especially early in her marriage, was this incredible model of discipline and structure. Wake up at 7, write for a set block of time, break for lunch and a swim, then another set block of writing. It was predictable, it was orderly, and it was unbelievably productive for her.
And then you have William Faulkner. His ideal creative space could not be more different. He literally fantasized about being a landlord in a brothel. And you have to ask, why? Well, for him, it offered quiet mornings, zero responsibilities, and complete freedom from worrying about money or food. His routine was all about creating an escape from the world, not organizing his time in it.
And this just captures that contrast perfectly, doesn't it? Plath's routine was all about external order and structure. Faulkner's was about internal peace and freedom. They are total polar opposites. But, and this is the most important part, both were designed with powerful, deliberate intention. Each writer knew exactly what they needed to do their best work, and they built a life, a routine to make that happen.
So, after all that, what does this actually mean for us in our lives? We've looked at the body, the brain, and the creative spirit. Now it's time to bring it all home and think about how we can really become the architects of our own days.
So let's just recap what we've learned here. First, timing isn't some trivial detail, it is a powerful tool you can use. Second, a short, intentional shock to the system can literally reboot your brain for the better. And finally, the magic isn't in finding some perfect, pre-made routine, it's in the act of designing one with your own true intention.
So maybe it's time we stop thinking about our routine as this rigid schedule that we have to follow. What if, instead, we saw it as a canvas? It's the framework, sure, but it's the structure upon which we have the complete freedom to paint the life we actually want to be living.
You know, every single morning, you're handed a blank page. You have the power to decide what gets written on it, through the timing of your workout, a quick moment of intentional discomfort, or just the simple act of designing a day that truly serves you. The only question left is, what will you choose to write?